Welcome back to the deep dive. For most of us, a dead battery, it's just a bit of a headache, right? You grab a charger, maybe you lose a few emails, no big deal.
Annoying, but manageable.
Exactly. But if you operate in the world of heavy industry, think refineries, massive utility sites, maybe underground construction equipment failure, that isn't just an inconvenience.
No, it can stop production absolutely cold. Or worse, much worse, put human lives in immediate danger.
Yeah, we're definitely moving beyond just, consumer-grade frustration here.
Wholesale.
This is getting into the realm of catastrophic risk management.
Totally. The level of trust placed in just a portable power source in those kinds of environments, it has to be absolute. There's no room for error.
Absolutely. And our source material for this deep dive today, it's actually a detailed industrial supply catalog. It focuses specifically on RamFan battery packs and, interestingly, their wholesale sourcing strategy.
Okay. So that lets us kind of reverse engineer the demands, right? The really high-stakes demands placed on power sources used in these hazardous spots.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to unpack what truly defines industrial grade. Because, let's be honest, that term gets thrown around, but here it means avoiding, the cheap knockoffs and the empty promises.
Right. We want to understand why reliability is just completely non-negotiable and what the big B2B buyers are prioritizing when their entire operation and maybe even their compliance record rests on something as seemingly simple as a battery pack.
Okay, so let's set the scene then. Let's unpack this by looking at these environments. You call them hostile. What kind of conditions are these packs actually dealing with day to day? And crucially, what happens if they fail?
Well, you really have to start with the environment because, honestly, it dictates everything else. We're talking about designated hazardous sites, oil refineries, sprawling tank farms, utility tunnels, and critically confined spaces.
Okay, confined spaces. I mean, for you listening, if you're maybe not familiar with all the industrial safety lingo, what makes a confined space so dangerous that ventilation becomes literally a life or death issue?
Well, a confined space, yeah. Think like a big storage tank or a large diameter pipe, maybe a deep utility vault. It's just not designed for people to be in there continuously.
Right. Not like an office.
Not at all. Toxins can build up really quickly. Oxygen levels can just plummet, or you might get flammable vapors concentrating in there.
Okay.
So if you've got a crew performing maintenance inside one of these spaces, their continuous supply of clean, filtered air, which is usually provided by powered ventilation, that's their absolute lifeline.
Wow.
If that portable power source fails, they are compromised instantly.
And this equipment, it's often running really sensitive safety tools, isn't it? Like extraction fans or maybe pressurization fans. The source also uses terms like hot work and brownouts. Could you maybe quickly define those for us? They sound pretty critical to the risk calculation here.
Yeah, good question. So hot work is basically anything that creates a spark or an open flame. Think welding, cutting metal, grinding.
Okay, makes sense.
Now, in environments where you might have flammable gases present, like in a refinery, you absolutely need those extraction fans running at 100% capacity to ensure the area is safe, to meet OSHA compliance before any spark happens.
Right before the work starts.
Exactly. And a brownout, well, that's a sag in voltage. It's not a complete blackout, but it's enough of a power loss that the equipment, like that fan, might operate sluggishly or inefficiently. It's not performing as it should.
Ah, okay. So if you get a battery brownout mid-job, maybe your extraction fan slows down, and suddenly you're out of compliance instantly.
That's it. The consequence of failure isn't just, downtime. It's an immediate safety incident, potentially catastrophic.
Yeah.
And that's precisely why these industrial buyers, they just can't settle for good enough. They know that phrase, only as reliable as your weakest link.
Right.
If the battery taps out mid-job, or even if the power just dips because of a brownout, the entire safety protocol can fail. And that risk profile, it makes reliability the #1 metric, often way above the initial price tag.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's jump into the engineering side then. What makes these RamFan R series packs what you call the industry benchmark? You mentioned they use lithium-ion tech, which, okay, powerful, but hold on. In a high-heat, flammable, hazardous environment, like you said, a tank farm, isn't there a huge thermal risk with standard lithium-ion batteries? I mean, how do they manage that potential explosion hazard? That seems like a massive hurdle.
That's a fundamental point, absolute critical. And it's why the engineering here goes so far beyond just delivering voltage.
Yeah.
The real insight is that Industrial grade, true industrial grade, means they engineer redundancy and, crucially, thermal stability right into the pack itself.
Okay, so it's more than just a casing.
Oh, much more.
Yeah.
We aren't just talking about, consumer-level water resistance. We're talking about seals and housing designed to withstand high-pressure washdowns, really aggressive handle, and getting drop-kicked, and those temperature extremes. Those are the silent killers of battery life and safety.
Right.
They are specifically built to prevent internal thermal events, thermal runaways, that could potentially ignite surrounding vapors. That's key.
So the engineering challenge isn't just about delivering power. It's about managing ambient heat, vibration, potential impacts, and those ignition points. That really elevates this way beyond just a simple power source.
Exactly right. They have to deliver consistent, hardcore power reliably. Think about their flagship product. We could maybe call it the Extended Duty Pro for simplicity. Officially, it's the R240V X50Li Pro Connect Pack.
Okay.
Its benchmark status really comes from tackling that vibration stability and actively preventing thermal runaway. It ensures the full charge delivers the power you need without dipping or, crucially, creating a new hazard. It's engineered to just outlast brutal workdays.
And I saw something interesting in the source material, a feature designed specifically for extending shifts, making them last longer.
Yeah, that's likely the BPV12. It's a 12-volt high-low battery pack, usually used with the UV20 ventilator. This is all about maximizing utility when you're out on site, maybe far from a power source.
How does the high-low work?
It lets the user actually switch the output between high power for maximum ventilation or a lower power setting. So imagine the scene, right? It's maybe 2 a.m., the crew is deep underground fixing a mainline break, and their absolute lifeline is that ventilation fan.
Yeah.
If they can switch it to a lower output just to maintain the minimum safe airflow, they buy themselves critical extra hours. It lets them finish complex tasks without the really dangerous and inefficient need to swap out power sources midstream in the dark underground.
That makes a lot of sense. And for organizations that are fielding entire mobile safety teams, maybe across multiple sites, they really need systems that are truly plug and play, don't they? Ready to go immediately.
Correct. Yeah, no missing pieces allowed. That's where something like the ED97 Beatty UB20 battery pack system comes into play. It's basically a complete mobile powerhouse all in one box.
What's in the box?
It includes the battery itself, the physical pack housing, the charger, and even the necessary ducting for the ventilator. It completely eliminates that risk of, say, deploying to a remote substation or an oil rig site, only to discover a critical component like the charger got left behind.
Yeah.
Nightmare scenario.
Total nightmare.
Well,
This way, everything is certified together, integrated, and ready to go instantly.
Okay, so we've established the intense engineering required. Really robust stuff. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's transition from the product specs to the actual application and, importantly, the financial reality. Because for the B2B buyer, the person with millions on the line, the question moves from does the product work to what's the ROI if it fails? And also, what's the ROI if it performs perfectly every time?
Yeah, and the value proposition here is actually pretty simple, surprisingly simple. It's guaranteed operational continuity, and that translates directly into avoiding massive financial penalties or losses. Take the oil and gas sector, for example, and the concept of a turnaround.
Okay, what exactly is a turnaround in that context? So a turnaround is a huge planned shutdown of an entire section of a refinery or maybe a chemical plant. It's for major maintenance, inspections, upgrades.
Sounds quite.
Oh, enormously complex. They are budgeted often down to the hour, and they can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a day easily just in lost production while that section is offline. The clock is ticking constantly, big pressure.
Wow. Okay, so in that high-pressure scenario, if critical safety equipment like those fans needed for ventilation during, say, a hot work phase fails because someone used a cheap, unreliable battery, what's the financial hit?
Well, if that battery taps out and you can't ventilate that refinery tank fast enough to make it safe for hot work, you simply cannot proceed with the scheduled welding or cutting.
The whole schedule stops.
The whole schedule stops. That means an immediate pause on critical path maintenance. In these turnaround scenarios, downtime isn't measured in days. It's easily measured in thousands of dollars per minute.
Per minute. Ouch.
Yeah, so a reliable certified battery pack ensures you get that instantaneous compliance, you keep the turnaround schedule intact, and you prevent that absolutely catastrophic loss from just snowballing.
Right. And what about in utilities and power? Especially for work done, say, way out in remote substations or maybe during underground line repairs where grid power is just impossible or irrelevant.
Yeah, in those cases, portable power equals pure productivity. It's that simple. If a crew is down a manhole fixing an underground line, they need lighting, they need ventilation. If their battery packs are unreliable or die unexpectedly,
Everything stops.
the entire workforce just grinds to a halt. They sit there. You lose productivity, you end up paying overtime for nothing achieved, and crucially, you delay restoring service to customers. So that investment in a high-end, reliable battery pack, it's basically just insurance against those unbudgeted, costly operational delays.
And the source material, it highlighted a specific scenario in heavy manufacturing, too, where quick replacement was key to sort of mitigating damage control.
Yes, exactly. In heavy manufacturing, you're often dealing with things like toxic fumes from processes or large machinery that requires massive cooling or ventilation. An unexpected power outage or even just equipment failure demands an instant response.
Like what?
Well, the example given was using the M152V battery pack for a quick swap. If a critical extraction fan shuts down, being able to very quickly exchange the pack, not having to fumble around with charging it or diagnosing why it died, just swap and go, that puts the extraction fans back in action immediately.
And the benefit.
That rapid response prevents potential environmental health issues for workers, maintains air quality, maybe prevents product contamination, and stops production losses before they really accelerate and become a major problem.
Exactly. Okay, so the product itself clearly needs to be perfect. Bulletproof, basically. But as you alluded to earlier, the supply chain for that product needs to be equally perfect, equally reliable. Now we really need to shift to that B2B supply perspective, because the sourcing strategy itself sounds absolutely critical.
It is. It really is. The procurement teams, the buyers for these large organizations, they are highly strategic because they absolutely view wasted hours as wasted dollars. Simple as that.
Time is money, literally.
Literally. So they demand frictionless sourcing. A truly strategic supplier isn't just selling them a product, they're essentially helping them cut down their liability and reduce their operational risk before the equipment even hits the job site.
And that starts with, well, scale and price optimization, especially for these massive organizations buying in bulk, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're talking about optimizing for what they call enterprise supply. This demands dedicated volume discounts and really deep wholesale pricing structures. You know, if a company manages a fleet of equipment across 50 different job sites, they just can't buy one-off battery packs at retail prices.
No way.
They need a partner who can reliably supply hundreds of units efficiently, ensuring cost effectiveness without ever sacrificing the quality that's needed for safety and compliance.
Okay, but I think probably the most frustrating word in industrial supply has got to be back order. I mean, price is completely useless if the product simply isn't available when a critical piece of equipment dies unexpectedly.
Oh, absolutely. Inventory assurance is paramount. It's non-negotiable. The supplier must stock the essentials, the batteries, the chargers, the common ventilators, and they need to be able to replenish an entire fleet potentially in hours or maybe days, definitely not weeks or months.
Right.
Industrial buyers, they just cannot tolerate those vague vaporware back orders that never seem to end. If a safety contractor suddenly needs 20 new battery packs tomorrow to meet the demands of a new emergency site,
Yeah.
the supply chain has to deliver, period. If not, that contractor might lose the bid, or worse, they might be forced to accept using substandard or potentially dangerous equipment just to get the job done. Huge risk.
And the supplier, they also have to really speak the buyer's language, don't they? Which goes way beyond just taking an order over the phone or online.
Oh, absolutely. The technical know-how on the supplier side is completely non-negotiable. The supplier needs to understand the nuances of petrochemical operations or utility work or confined space safety protocols.
They need to know the job.
They need to know the job. They need to be fluent in the specs, the certifications required, the typical lead times, compatibility issues between different models, and importantly, how warranty claims work in the real world. They're essentially selling a solution to a compliance and safety problem, not just a battery pack in a box.
And that ties directly into transparency and compliance, which you mentioned earlier. The buyer absolutely cannot afford to gamble on, say, off-brand or gray market parts when people's lives are literally on the line.
This is so critical for minimizing the buyer's liability. The supplier must guarantee that all the packs they provide are genuine OEM products, they have to be fully warranted, and they must meet all the required performance and safety certifications for that specific industry or application.
No cutting corners.
No cutting corners. A genuine, reputable supplier provides transparent pricing. Sure, no hidden fees or nickel and dime tactics, but maybe even more importantly, they provide the necessary documentation. If an OSHA inspector walks onto a site and asks for the certification of the power source for that critical ventilation fan,
You need proof.
the site manager needs immediate verifiable proof, and the right supplier enables that compliance seamlessly. They make it easy.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. It really shows how, industrial integrity, keeping these massive operations running safely, relies on this perfect marriage of really sophisticated engineering on one hand and incredibly strategic logistics on the other.
Yeah, I think that's the summary right there, isn't it? The core takeaways are really that dual necessity in industrial power supply. First, you need that uncompromising product reliability, exemplified by packs engineered to withstand heat, impact, vibration, everything.
Like the R240V EX50 Lay Pro Connect we talked about.
Exactly. And then that has to be paired with strategic supply chain reliability. That means fast bulk orders, verified inventory that's actually on the shelf, and a dedicated technical partnership that actively helps cut down the buyer's risk and liability.
So it's really the meeting point of hardcore engineering and seamless logistics that ensures both safety and ultimately solvency for these companies.
Indeed, yeah. And maybe for our final provocative thought, something for you to mull over. Consider this. Every time a massive utility company or a big oil and gas firm manages to minimize their liability exposure and achieve a perfect OSHA compliance record on a dangerous job.
Okay.
It's often not because of some grand new corporate policy they rolled out. It's frequently because of the absolute boring reliability of maybe the single smallest component they purchased in bulk for that job.
Yeah.
A fully warranted, genuine, industrial-grade battery pack powering a critical safety device. The unseen efficiency and safety of our modern industrial world really relies on eliminating that one tiny potential weak link.